Hello, thank you for joining me for today's video. My name is Tracy Held. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Melbourne in Australia. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make 4 cards using the stack, cut and shuffle technique. I really love these kind of cards because I feel like I'm putting in a smaller amount of effort and getting more cards out of it. Let's have a quick walkthrough of the products that we're going to be using. I'm using the Merriest Trees bundle, stamps and dies. This bundle is in the current mini catalogue, but it is carrying over next year or once the catalogue ends. The only thing is that it will not carry over at the bundle price. So if this is on your wish list, be sure to order it before the catalogue ends so that you get the 10% discount on that bundle. As per my usual, I'm changing the colours of the cards that we're going to make together. I'm using the Snowflake Splendor Designer Series paper, and I'm using All About Autumn Designer Series paper. Now, these 2 sheets are the ones that I'm not overly thrilled with one side of, but the reverse side is going to work really well for us. You can do this with whatever paper you like. Just make sure that your 4 colors coordinate and all look good next to each other. Right, so to get started, I'm going to just stack my paper, and for no good reason, I'm just alternating the different Designer Series paper. So because I'm using 4 different Designer Series paper here, we're going to get 4 cards out. You've probably seen these cards made with 3, and I even saw one that was done with 5 different DSPs, but that was getting a little bit too busy for my liking. Now, because I'm actually going to use specific measurements here, if you don't want to cut your paper all together, if you're not confident, you can cut with 2 or even individually. Hopefully my blade is going to be sharp enough. I'm going to make my first cut at 4 centimeters. If you're working in inches, that would be at 1.5 inches. And yes, that went all the way through. And then I'm just turning it, and I'm going to cut again at 4 centimeters or 1.5 inches. Now just make sure that you're keeping your stacks in the same order. Don't shuffle anything around just yet. I'm then going to take my next pile here, and I'm going to cut that. So that should be 5.5 centimeters. Yes, it is. So we're going to cut this one at 5.5 centimeters. That's going to be 2.25 inches if you're working in inches. So we've done our stack, we've done our cut, and now we're going to shuffle. And I'm just probably shuffling the order around a little bit because when I'm going to stick it on, I don't want the 2 squares next to each other. So that's why I just organized it like this. So it doesn't matter what order you go. My first pile, I'm leaving exactly as it was. My second pile, I'm taking my top sheet and moving it to the bottom. Third pile, again, doesn't matter which order you go in. I just tend to go like that. We're going 1, 2, and our last one, we're going 1, 2, 3 underneath. Now keep those stacks in that order, And then we're going to take our mats. Now we're going to start sticking. Now I'm going to go and stick all the DSP on my next 3 card mats. You might have noticed while I was sticking, I actually, after the first 2, changed the order that I was sticking. So instead of starting with the square, I started with the big piece. Now, the only reason for that is so that I have all my squares in a different order. And if I just turn the 2 that are the same upside down, then I have my 4 cards, each with a different alignment of the Designer Series paper. Okay, so now that we have our 4 cards, we can stick this onto the front of our cards. Now, before we start decorating the front of the cards, I just want to do the insert, but I'll just show you. When I cut out my Christmas trees for the front of the card, I used 4 of the Christmas tree dies. I didn't go with the very big one because I just felt that that was then taking up too much of the card and was hiding too much of the Designer Series paper. So I started with the second largest one, and then 3rd, 4th, and the smallest. Okay, so 3 of them I cut out from a piece of cardstock, which is my insert layer. And I don't usually mat the inside of my cards, but this time around I decided not to waste that cardstock, and that one was just cut out from just a scrap of Moody Mauve that I had lying around. But these are working perfectly for a mat for us. And I have some scraps of my Designer Series paper, so you can use whichever paper you prefer, whichever design talks to you the loudest, and we're just going to stick that along the bottom of my writing panel. And then because I've got holes in my mat, I'm just going to put glue along the edges. And then the whole thing is going to get stuck inside my card. There we go. And I've stuck them inside the other 3. Now we have our Christmas tree pieces, but before I start I want to add some colour to them. Picking up my Moody Mauve ink pad, and my blending brush. Now ordinarily I always say don't go straight onto your card. Try and give it a rub off so that you don't get blotches, but this time around I'm actually not fussed about the blotches because I want some texture to my trees. My bottom layers, when I say bottom layers I mean lower layers, I'm really just concentrating on the bottom of the die cuts because that's all that we're going to see. But with this top one we'll give it some good color all over. Now if you can see, my trees actually have quite a lot of dimension because I'm sticking them together with dimensionals. The mini dimensionals are actually your best option here, but I've run out of mini dimensionals, so as we're getting lower, all that I'm going to do is just cut the edges of my big dimensionals, and we're going to use these pieces. But like I say, I have mini dimensionals on my next order, and those are actually my go-to for putting my trees together. Now, it doesn't have to be 100%, but I'm lining up the top and the side of the trees. I've cut the tinsel decorative baubles, one from silver and one from gold, and this is the online exclusive adhesive backed glimmer paper. Love this paper. If you wanted to, you could use the same color on all the layers, but I decided to mix up the silver and the gold. And if you're not using this adhesive backed paper, you definitely want to put adhesive sheet behind your die cuts when you're doing this, because you wouldn't want to be sticking glue behind this. It would just make it way too messy. I have a little tree trunk cut out of pecan pie, so we're going to just put that behind my tree. And when I did these ones, I cut out the tree skirt, but I've decided that this time around I'm not going to use that because I don't think it adds any value to it, and we're going to put the sentiment down anyway. So let's just pop some dimensionals behind the tree. And of course you're going to make 4 trees, one for each card, and then these can get stuck onto your card. I've heat embossed the sentiments. I've done 2 silver and 2 gold, and just cut at an angle. And these need some dimensionals behind them as well. I don't know whether it really is important or not, but I'm going to put the silver embossing with the trees that have the silver stars and the gold with the gold stars. And the very last thing that we need here is the star at the top of the Christmas tree. And this is out of that same adhesive backed glimmer paper. And there we have it. So we've got our 4 cards with our different alignment of designer series paper. And I've got my pretty peacock ones. See if I can get them all in shot. Give that a try. Use up your designer series paper, and you can use whatever paper you like as long as they all coordinate with each other. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I will see you next time. Until then, bye.